host. Where are you?
Yeah, let's start. It's 5 p.m. Good evening, everybody. I, Bhakti Prasija Sethi, on behalf of Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association, extend a very warm welcome to all of you in this webinar on the topic Mind Matters, Tackling Mental Wellness in Corona Times. There is a famous quote by Walt Disney that happiness is a state of mind. Dalai Lama also says happiness is a state of mind. But there arise situations in life when all these quotes, all these positive things appear to us very illusionary. COVID times have been such challenging times. There has been lot of stress, lot of anxiety among people, lot of depression. We have been hearing lot of cases of suicides. People have lost jobs. Schools admissions have been postponed. Colleges also admissions have been postponed. Businesses have been closed. Debts have been piling up. People have been isolated away from the families. There have been so many things, and it's clear there are so many news reports that people across the globe are stressed out and they are struggling to deal with mental health. Mental health, as we all know today, there is nothing to be ashamed about it. When we talk, things get sorted out. Today, we have with us experts who are dealing with all these issues since last so many decades. We have with us Dr. Rajesh Mehta and Dr. Anubha. Dr. Rajesh Mehta is a psychiatrist, and Dr. Anubha Dhal Majithia, she is a clinical psychologist. So today we will be taking up all these issues. Our experts, our dear doctors would be addressing how to deal with the issues of mental health, how to deal with depression, how to deal with anxiety, and how to be happy. I would request our dear Vice President Priyanka Mathur to please introduce our guest formally.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Mehta. Good evening, Dr. Majithia.
Good evening.
Our first speaker, Dr. Rajesh Mehta, who will be explaining us the science of mental health, has studied his MBBS and MD Psychiatry from one of the oldest and premier institute of India, SMS College, Jaipur, Rajasthan. He has more than 30 years of experience in this field. He has also worked at Wimhans as in charge and senior consultant, Psychiatry Division. Dr. Mehta is a very experienced and mature psychiatrist, having a holistic approach towards his patient. Dr. Mehta is an ex-army officer from Army Medical Corps with all good qualities of sincerity and is a dedicated and sincere professional. He is very empathetic, caring, and helpful toward his patient and has very good result to his credit. So he will be speaking about the mental health today. And a very prominent second speaker is Dr. Anubha Dhal Majithia. She has a PhD in clinical psychology from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi, and is a practicing clinical psychologist. She has previously worked in the capacity of a research associate for a multi-country World Health Organization WHO project on developing a portal on managing alcohol use. She has also worked in public health as a program manager at Global Health Strategies on a project funded by Michelle and Susan Dell Foundation. Hope I'm right. Dr. Majithia.
It's Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, but it's okay.
Michael and Susan Dell Foundation on school health. In collaboration with AIMS, she has conducted training programs on stress management, substance use, mental health for elderly person, and child abuse for Indian Oil Corporation Limited. She has also numerous publications which are already on e-portals, right?
Yes,
thank you, Dr. Majithia. Now I would request our President Mahalakshmi Pavani to formally welcome them.
A very good evening to one and all. I welcome Dr. Anubha Majithia and Dr. Rajesh Mehta on our webinar today. The topic for today is mind matters, tackling health issues, mental health issues during COVID times. So what has happened? I mean, the world has seen an unprecedented crisis. I mean, everyone is going through a lot of stress, a lot of confusion is going on, a lot of uncertainty is going on. As we take care of our physical health, we do a lot of exercises and we are into yoga and things like that. But nobody bothers to talk about this mental health issues, you see. In fact, this mental health issue is such a thing. It is until and unless you open up and you talk, nothing is going to happen. So we need to talk about it instead of bottling up our emotions and sitting inside and, you know, without giving a vent to it. Let me tell you, friends, we are advocates. We work in a high profile atmosphere under high pressure, and then we are having a hectic life. But believe me, with this pandemic, everything has come to a standstill. Like an empty mind is a devil's workshop. So the fact of the matter is, we are not able to cope with this. I mean, nobody had envisaged a situation like this where we would be doing nothing. When I go to court, I used to get an adrenaline rush. But now I haven't been able to go. I haven't been able to see my comfort zone. That is my home. I miss my friends. I miss the ladies' bar. I miss advocates. I miss arguing in courts. So it is kind of telling on me. And let me tell you, you know, what happens is this word social distancing itself is frustrating. See, human beings, we are social animals. We love each other. We want to be close to each other. This pandemic has literally estranged all of us. We are, instead of the word social distancing, the word physical distancing should have been used. And you know, this world has come, the economy has come to a standstill. There are rising deaths every day. I mean, tomorrow is an uncertainty. We really don't know whether we will come through it, we'll pass through this crisis, what is happening. Financially, most of the young advocates are down and out. There are people living away from their hometowns in these lockdown areas. They are not able to deal with it. And let me tell you all, you know, there are two young girls who committed suicide. And you know what is the cause for this? Because they were not able to open up. Until and unless you open up, you tell your issue, you speak it out, you are not able to speak, please write it down. You know, you can have friends, you can talk to your parents. I mean, there is some way you have to let out this frustration. So that is why we girls, we ladies, the Supreme Court Women, our association, we thought it is very vital to enlighten our audience as to how to deal with these issues. So we have today with us on our panel, we have two eminent people from their the psychiatric department and a clinical psychologist. They both are very eminent. They have been dealing with this for years, and they will be able to give us a guidance, tips, strategies as to how to deal with this. So I request Dr. Rajesh Mehta to please come over and speak, and please enlighten our audience and show them the way. Please tell them how to deal with this crisis, because it's a total question mark. We don't know what's going to happen, when, what. I mean, it is really traumatic. Over to Dr. Rajesh Mehta. May I request you, sir, please?
Thank you, ma'am. Today's topic is mental wellness, mind matters in Corona times. In this particular pandemic situation, everybody is under. And
Dr. Mehta, you're on mute.
excuse me, am I audible?
Yes, now you.
Okay, if there was a call, I don't know how to stop it. I have to decline them. That's why this happened. Sorry for the inconvenience. Now the question comes to, in this pandemic situation, this is an extraordinary situation in which everybody is going through a different type of situation in their life. There is total lockdown. There are problems in their jobs, in their family life, in their social life. People feel lonely. So ultimately, everything is impacting the mind. And mind matters a lot, because the mind is our perception about the world around us. Everything comes to us through our mind. So I'll be stressing more on the mind to some extent so that we understand that mind is the supreme power of our body and it controls and makes one aware of everything around us. We are in constant and mind maintains the equilibrium balance. Now, when the balance is made, we are healthy. If the balance is not being made because of the lot of stress, or we are unable to understand the situation correctly. Am I audible again?
Yes.
Okay, because there is a call, I cannot stop those calls. If I put it on airplane matter, the things will get even worse. Sorry for the inconvenience. Now, normally we perceive health as guaranteed till we lose it. In pandemic times, the health issues are getting more important for everybody around us. Everybody is now started talking about the health issues because there is vulnerability being felt by everybody. Now, we are in constant interplay with our environment, which is changing day by day. There are different types of this thing. Decisions being put on us. Everybody is into confusion, what to do, what not to do, how to manage things. So to keep everybody healthy, one has to use his mental power to adjust to the situation. The adjustment is a must. And in our mind, how it functions, it is continuously bombarded by stimulation from outside world and demands, desires from within also. The interplay between these demands creates conflict at times, and then mind again has to act as preserver to maintain the peace through its defenses. The defense mechanism ultimately come into play to maintain the equilibrium. When mind is successful, the result is healthy mind and healthy body also. And if not, then there can be some problems and mind can get into mental disturbance also. Now the issue is mind has impact over body and our life. The body disturbances during these issues, like many people are suffering from different disorders. They are all under stress. How to handle this situation, because if we get corona, we might be getting into a difficult situation and our life becomes at risk. So ultimately, mind is involved in every issue, and how mind acts. Now it acts to information processing mechanism. Now mind gathers the knowledge, information from all around us, from the world, whatever is going on, our own ideas, our own thoughts, our feelings, our desires from within, what we want from life, and our all past experiences and memories. So all these things are put to information processing, and ultimately when the information processing results into proper emotional reaction, we are healthy. If the emotional reaction is difficult and we finally take that the things are not getting into our way, the way we want, then there is emotional conflict and ultimately it results into mental tension or depression, or it keeps increasing into the, you can say ultimately a person can lose his balance also. But mainly due to corona, most of the cases have anxiety and depression issues. Now, role of mind in mental wellness is then obvious. Whenever it maintains the equilibrium, the result is that we are okay with the situation. Mind has a role to play into certain physical diseases also. Whenever a person is under stress, like a person with hypertension or diabetes or asthma or hormonal disturbances, they get the problems getting exaggerated during these stress situations. Now, this could be due to physiological changes and disturbance in immune system also. So one has to contain the stress to a level which it doesn't affect the body and the mind. The moment the things go beyond a limit and the tension is more, then ultimately it affects the body and mind. Now, ultimately, when the mind is taking a decision, then if the decision is not okay, then person will react emotionally. It results into tension and frustration ultimately. Now that frustration results into more of reactions. Now when the reaction is only anxiety, then person can have generalized anxiety disorder, which is that constant feeling of tension whole day, all the time. The person is unable to sleep, person is unable to concentrate and preoccupied with, I am not feeling comfortable. I feel I have to do something about it. I feel restlessness, I feel ghavrat and other things. Now panic is another situation which can result into like a person start feeling so overwhelmed by anxiety that start feeling running out to gasp for air, even running out to find a place in the hospital or to see a doctor. That panic situation creates such a problem that person feels that he is going to die. Now then there are obsessive compulsive disorders in which most of the patients, they feel that they are getting thoughts related to repetitive thought into their mind, which they feel disturbing. They feel that they are thinking, but the thoughts are not there, they are not under their control. They are involuntary. These thoughts create problem and ultimately, like in corona cases, we are advised to wash our hands repeatedly whenever we touch, whenever we go out, whenever we see something, every time we have to, or taking food. Now, normally or involuntary also, we try and touch so many things on our own without realizing that we are touching somewhere or face or hairs or anywhere in the body or on any surface. Now that creates again a panic in the people's mind that, oh, I must have touched something and now I have to wash hands. Now this again is getting into the problem that most of the people who were at the borderline of obsessive compulsive disorders, they have gone into frank stage of obsessive compulsive disorder. Then there is a post-traumatic stress disorder. In these disorders, the person feels or relive or even imagine that something is going to happen to him, but which he has seen other people going through. Like you have seen certain videos where people are into shock stage or they are gasping for air and they are unable to understand what is happening, and they are shown as if they have died there and there. It's there itself. Now these types of videos, they create a panic types of situation, and ultimately the person starts, when seeing such things more often on TV and videos are being flashed into social this thing circles, then ultimately it creates a tension and post-traumatic, like you are going through a trauma again and again. And again, this is an anxiety type of situation. When the outcome is guilt, as if you are guilty that I have done something wrong, kuch ho to nahi jayega, something may not happen to me, something may not happen to my family if I go home like this. How to handle, how to meet people, how to meet family members. Whenever you go out, then you are always into a confused state and guilty that you might create this disease into yourself and then pass it on to your family members. Now the guilt again leads to depression and person starts avoiding certain situations. Like most of the people in initial stages of lockdown, they followed the lockdown 100%. Nobody wanted to go out. Nobody wanted to meet anybody. Everybody was trying to manage things somehow. Still people are following it, but now gradually the people have realized that the things are not that bad and the lockdown situation is not warranted. Now we are in a phase where prevention is the main thing. Now if we are not preventing the situation, then ultimately it is going to create more problems. So the prevention is here more important. Now whenever the anxiety, a situation in which the person is disturbed due to his outside world problems and the problem within him. Such people, when they are so overwhelmed by anxiety, they start feeling so insecure. And when this happens to a person with a weak personality, they are already into a situation where they are weak, they are dependent, they are not able to handle themselves otherwise also. Such people at times lose their mental balance, and that may result into psychotic state also. Now the direct impact of corona. Now stress is the main issue which is being felt by corona. Now stress is in the different forms, like it is affecting our biology. It is affecting our psychology, that how things are going to work. Our mind is not free from this. We are always preoccupied by corona, how to do our daily work. Now life is felt as at risk also, like we are vulnerable, we may have this and we may die also. The risk is too high. Any disease in which the risk of death is there, it creates a lot of problem and lot of fear. Now then there is freedom problem also, which everybody is feeling now, that they are not free to move around, to talk around, to touch things, to do things, to get to their job. They feel lonely, boredom, and sometimes people have financial stress also, and that adds on to the problem. Then there is lack of emotional support also in these people. And in fact, in everybody's life, we are finding that emotionally we are not getting support. Even I feel that people in relation also are not meeting each other. Phone is fine. The video chats and other things are helping the people to get connected and get some support emotionally. But ultimately, the support we get emotionally by touching, by meeting, direct contact, that is missing. And that is the first thing which gives you the feeling of that you are secure. Now, then overindulgence is there in many people, because they are free, they are not able to do anything. So they feel that they are indulging into overeating, they are indulging into alcohol also, and other activities. But those people who are going into music, getting into yoga, getting into relaxation, getting into their physical activity, they are better off. So many people, because of the being contained to their houses most of the time, they are not able to do their physical activities wherever there is less of space. Now, anxiety can be acute and chronic. Acute anxiety will result into panic type of situation, psychotic type of situation, and anxiety states. But in chronic anxiety, which we are now feeling in our life, that because of corona, most of the patients are feeling chronic anxiety, all the time feeling of tenseness, lack of interest, lack of confidence, lack of concentration, always feeling restless, irritable, helpless, and at times hopeless also. And whenever there is helplessness and hopelessness, the person might get into depressive state also. And most of the medical signs and symptoms of different systems are being felt more often, because we are not moving and we are not doing much of work. So the most of the time our mind is preoccupied by our own problems. So ultimately that results into these types of issues. Now mild to moderate stress is tolerated well by anybody. But whenever the stress gets severe, the negative influence occurs, and there is definite problem related to brain, vascular system, hormonal system, and immune system mainly. And that happens because ultimately there is oxidative stress due to hormonal disturbances. And oxidative stress creates problem in physiological functioning, proper functioning of the body system. Now, who are prone for such problems during this corona time? The people who have a weak personality, they are dependent, they are not very active, they are not very confident, they are already under stress of finances, family issues, And nuclear families, again, the people are feeling more insecure. If something happens to us, what will happen to our family? Who will look after? How will able to manage? People who have lost their dear and dear ones in this corona time, they are also under a lot of stress. Nobody is allowed to contact or go and meet or do any rituals. So ultimately, the insecurity is there. Now, people who are single persons, like we had a lot of these things, labor class, which moved from one place to their hometown because they were feeling that they are single. If something happens, who will look after? Something like this is creating a lot of issues, and ultimately these people started moving back to their homes. Now, people who have past and family history of psychiatric disorders are also very prone for anxiety, depression, and other disorders. Now, who would need help? I think people who have acute reactions and severe anxiety, they need immediate help. And whosoever finding himself or herself in distress, or people around find there is change in his behavior and his personality, his actions and reactions, then such people should also seek advice. And persons who are finding it difficult to do their day-to-day work, they are unable to concentrate on their job, they have sleep problems, appetite issues, and feeling lack of enjoyment, they must also consult the doctor before it gets too late. Person is not able to handle, if the person is unable to handle the situation in 2-3 weeks, then definitely one person must go for consultation with a psychologist or psychiatrist. Now, physical exercises and relaxation exercises are good in this particular situation as it improves the brain connectivity. The physical exercises have a this thing that they promote brain connectivity. The brain growth factor is improved in such patients, and they have less oxidative stress, which then controls that cell damage is blocked, relaxation, mood, and sleep quality. Now, all things are controlled by our relaxation, which improves our mood. Sleep quality when gets better when we relax ourselves. Now, in management, there are 2-3 things which are more important, like talk therapy. When we speak to other people, we know that everybody is going through the same phenomena, same problem. Then talk therapy helps. But when they are unable to find peace, or they are unable to relax and concentrate and do their day-to-day work, then they must go to doctor or psychologist to get professional help. Now, relaxation in the form of yoga or breathing exercises, pranayam, and meditation. Meditation basically gives peace to the mind. The mind is given relaxation in a particular point, and then mind gets stationary. Then mind gets relaxed, then ultimately it starts functioning better, and it has positive effect on our body also. Then cognitive behavior therapy, in which the thought process is managed. Then medicinal management, I'll not touch on this because medicinal management comes as a last resort when we find that the person is unable to handle himself in spite of all the other efforts. Then we go for medical management or medicinal management. Thank you.
Now may I ask, may I invite Anubha ji to please share their views.
Thank you. So, I mean, I know the topic is mind matters, but I'll be talking about you matter because I think all of us matter. So, what is it that you are all about? So, I'm going to take it from a cognitive behavior therapy perspective, which Dr. Saab just touched upon. So, cognitive behavior therapy has 3 things. Just like when a child starts their education, you've got your A, B, and C. In cognitive behavior therapy, we also have our A, B, and C. So if these A, B, and C are working well, you are working well. So A stands for affect, B stands for behavior, and C stands for cognitions. So affect is how we are feeling, how we are, experiencing things. Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling irritated? So all that comes in my affect. B is my behavior. How am I responding to situations? What am I doing about it? Am I crying? Am I getting into a problem solving mode? Am I shouting at somebody? All that constitutes my behavior. C is the cognitions or my thought process. How do I think about situations? How do I perceive them? How do I filter them? Right? So these three components are not distinct. They feed into each other. For instance, you will notice the days when you get up in the morning and you've not had a good night's sleep, you're like, oh God, I have to again sit for my child's virtual class, or maybe I have a virtual meeting coming up and I don't feel like doing it. What happens is you start stumbling through the day. So even during the meeting, you're sluggish and you start coaxing yourself, oh God, I could have said this point, I could have said this point, but I forgot. So that's because I was not feeling okay when I got up. So I felt, the day will go badly. That's what my thought process was like. And when I stumbled and I missed points, or I was not able to communicate what I wanted to do, was that my behavior was also altered, and which basically fed the belief that, oh, the day went badly and I'm feeling bad at the end of the day also. So to break this cycle, we have certain strategies which we teach you to basically help you function better, be more productive, be more positive, and feel better, right? So even though we talk about happiness all the time, but happiness is a very utopian concept, until unless you're self-actualized and you're into that mode where, you're in touch with the consciousness and you're in total bliss. All of us every day, some days we're happy, some days we're sad, some days we're angry. So now the three common emotions which I felt, which came up a lot during my practice during the COVID times, was heightened anxiety, people feeling really sad, and people feeling angry. Now I know you all are a group of lawyers, so I'm sure there is one aspect which has been coming up a lot, and that is domestic violence. And that's because there's a lot of anger and irritation which is happening between couples, especially the husband was abusing.
I think there is some connectivity issue with Dr. Anubha.
Yes, Anubha ji.
Anubha ji, seems there is some connectivity issues. You are not audible.
Anubha ji.
So let's wait. Maybe she has some connectivity issues and she will be back.
Yes, we'll wait.
Yeah, we will wait.
Call her on a mobile.
Meanwhile, Dr. Rajesh also made very good suggestions, like people who are engaging in music therapy, music, dance, some hobbies, they are comparatively lesser stressed as compared to people who are not maintaining any hobbies.
Please call Dr. Anubha, who has mobile number, because she's now.
Please call up Dr. Anubha. Maybe there is some breakdown. Mahalakshmi.
She's back now.
Yeah, so this is the new normal for us also, that we're so dependent on the internet.
Yeah, so you can continue, Dr. Anubha.
Okay, so I know if this was a virtual hearing, it could cost you the case, right? Because the judge would get upset with you that your internet is not there and your argument is gone.
So luckily, everybody understands. Judges also do understand these things.
So that's very nice. I have all the respect for judiciary, and if people are giving each other that leeway, that's so nice. So coming back, so I was just telling you about the link between the affect, cognition, and behavior. So we'll be talking about some strategies. So I'm sure all of us log into webinars with a little bit of a heavy heart. Ki zyada technical now, zyada boring now ho. It should be something that I can use. So I'm here to talk about things which are not only restricted to COVID. They are also things that you can use whenever you feel you're stressed, whenever you feel you're anxious, whenever you're feeling sad, or even when you're feeling really angry, right? So the first and foremost is, what is the main feeling that we've all been experiencing during this COVID time? And that is loss of control and uncertainty. You don't know when it's going to go away. It's not in your hands. So what happens is, when we feel a loss of control, when we have too much uncertainty, it's very natural for us to feel very anxious on a day-to-day basis. Because we're anxious, we're also very reactive. So we could have been very much understanding earlier if, let's say our spouse said a nasty comment. So we could have said, okay, he's having a bad day, let it be. But right now, since, my anxiety is high, I've already attended the virtual class also. I have done the household work also, and I'm doing my own professional work also. And if my spouse says something nasty to me, I want to give it back to him. So what happens is with heightened anxiety, you tend to also become very reactive. So anger increases, that anger leads to a lot of interpersonal stress. And that also leads to abuse in many situations, especially as I was talking to you about, if a partner is already abusive, they tend to get more abusive during this circumstance. And earlier, maybe that woman had an out, she could call somebody, she could get out of the house. Here, she has no out. So that situation becomes so worse for her, right? So what is it that we can do on a daily basis, or maybe, whenever such emotions come up? So the first and foremost is establish a routine. So when I say a routine, initially it may be, okay, fine, there are things which are coming up, like my household work comes up on one day, there's too much of work, there are too many dishes. Or let's say there is, one day my son wants me to sit on the virtual class, one day he doesn't want me to. So there are certain amounts of, let's say interplay about things not going perfect, but still keep yourself flexible. So if you know that, yes, in the morning, I need to get these things done. In the afternoon, I need to get these things done. In the evening, I need to get these things done. At the end of the day, I feel that at least my day I can control. I can't control Corona. I can't control other people. I can't control the situation. But at least whatever I need to do, I can control, right? So a great way to prioritize things, and also which helps in decision making, is whatever you have to do in the day, make a to-do list. So there are certain amount of us who can't follow the timetable approach. We can't do 8 se 9 baje ye karenge, 9 se 10 ye karenge. We work very well with just slotting down tasks. When you've written your tasks, you are going to rate them in terms of urgency and importance. What is urgency? That I have a timeline associated with this task. Importance is that it's important to me. For instance, the virtual class every day happens at 9 o'clock. It's an urgent thing that I need to attend to. And it's important because my son's learning depends on it. There are certain tasks which are urgent important. There are certain tasks which are urgent not important. There are certain tasks which are not urgent but important. And there are not urgent and not important tasks. Now, what happens a lot of the times is that our prioritization is not correct. We are doing a lot of those not urgent, not important tasks. And when that urgent, important, starts rearing its head on us, we start getting frustrated and irritated. Oh God, I had to do this. I forgot about this. So if you have the task rated on this dimension, you can pick up the urgent, important first, urgent, not important second, important, not urgent third, and fourth is not important, not urgent. Another day which you need to also another thing which you also need to factor in your day is there are productive time slots and not productive time slots, right? For instance, some of you are early birds. In the morning, you're really fresh, your mind works very fast. Some of you are the ones who are those late nighters that probably after the kids are asleep, then my mind works, I can get a lot of stuff done. So recognize which is your productivity slot and put these items which are more mentally challenging there. So if I am, let's say, working on a brief, but I know that 9 to 11 is my time when I need to get the cleaning done, but I'm also sitting with my brief and saying, no, I'll do the dusting later, or I'll do something later because we don't have help these days, then I get frustrated. But if I know, well, I'm an early riser, I can probably start working on the brief then. When probably that's a rest time, the kids are asleep, I can work with it then. And I know my productive slots, I'm able to get more stuff done. During your non-productive slots, put the stuff which is not urgent, not important. In that way, you're able to trick yourself to get more done in your day, right? So that's about routines. The second thing was what Dr. Saab said, establish a relaxation routine. Now, I'm sure many of us can't meditate because our mind wanders here and there. So a very simple thing that you can do is breathing exercises. Even in the morning, if you just get up and do 5 abdominal breaths, that is that you breathe in, your stomach expands, you breathe out, your stomach contracts. That in itself is helpful enough. I always tell my clients to do the breathing exercises in the morning and late at night when you're sleeping. Why? Because your subconscious mind is most active at that time. When you're waking up, you're moving from subconscious to conscious. When you're sleeping, again, you're moving from conscious to subconscious. So the barrier is low. So if I introduce the feeling of relaxation, then my subconscious mind also learns to relax more. Right? So 5 deep breaths in the morning, 5 deep breaths at night. Very doable. If some of you want a little more out of the relaxation, you can do something which I call my happy place visualization. So after you've done those 5 abdominal breaths, close your eyes and go to that place which makes you happy. So if it's a memory that was, very happiness provoking for you, or there was a particular place, like for instance, some people love the mountains, some people love the beach. Imagine that situation, pay attention to the smells, the sights, the texture, the colors, everything. It helps your mind relax, right? So for those of you who would like to get a deeper experience, you can also add the visualization exercise after you do your breathing exercise. Physical exercise is very important, but one thing which I feel most of us falter on is we are not all the time internally motivated to do physical exercise. At least I am not. So a lot of the times what happens is I don't end up doing the exercise. I feel bad about myself. See, I'm putting on weight. I'm eating more. Shame on me. And I'm basically beating myself up with a stick mentally. So it's not that you always have to be internally motivated. A wise person is that who knows when am I internally motivated and when do I need an external motivator. Having an external motivator is not a problem. So for instance, if I'm too lazy to do it on my own, I have my exercise buddy or my friend with whom I do a Zoom call and we do exercises together. Or I join a virtual workout. Or for instance, I get a personal trainer to do it with me one-on-one. I'm not able to do it outside. Well, I can, put my mat in my balcony, get a little bit of the outside in, and I can do a Zoom call with him. So in that way, I have many options, but I need to know that all the time, I may not be internally motivated, and that's perfectly fine. Don't beat yourself up with a stick for that, right? So once you've got your relaxation routine, which is number 2, we come to number 3, and that is it's a very handy skill. So whenever you're feeling very agitated, very angry, very anxious, follow distraction. So distraction, what it does is it basically moves your mind away from that anxiety or distress provoking situation to something which is neutral. For instance, you can call up a friend, or for instance, you just put on one song which relaxes you. Or if you're feeling, that I'm getting too irritated here, I would just like to get away from this situation, get away from that room, take a little bit of a walk around your dining table, do anything to basically get your attention away from that situation. So distraction is a very handy tool, but distraction is a short-term strategy. So if I want to manage stress on the long term, it may not help me very effectively. All the time, I can't just distract myself. I also need to attend to the source of the problem. So that is where my next strategy comes handy, and that is my favorite coping strategy. It's called problem solving. So very simple, you write down what the problem is very clearly and very objectively. So now if I say I want to be happy, it's not an objective problem. It is not attainable. Every day you can't be Zen. So if I say, well, I would like to manage my day better, I would like to be productive in my day, that is a very handy thing that can be done. The second step is you come up with solutions. Now here is the brainstorming technique where you come up with as many solutions as you can think of. Let's say for my productivity, what all can I do? Well, I can, probably put my to-do list. Maybe I can start small. Maybe I can, probably when the kids are giving me a hard time, I can probably see that when they get very cranky, I can put the screen on for that time and not really do it when they're very happy and active. I can probably give them a color task. So I come up with various options to basically help me solve that problem. Now I look at which option is most viable. Viability in terms of which is very practical, which is something which I can do easily, right? You pick that solution, you try it out. If it doesn't work, you go back to the brainstorming list, pick up another solution, try it out, and let's see if that works or not, right? So keep on doing that till you find that solution. So if you are able to use problem solving in your daily life, you're able to deal with any adversity. Tomorrow, even if you get COVID, okay, what are my options? I need to call up probably the nearest hospital. If that is not available, if the government hospital is not doing a test, what are the private labs that I can look for? Okay, fine. Now, what are my other contact points whom I can just call in as emergency? also I can, even make my problem solving of things which I'm afraid of. So if I have a plan, I'm not scared. If I'm in control. So even tomorrow, if I feel that I'm going to get COVID, what is going to be my crisis intervention plan? Write it down like that. You will feel much better because you have everything covered, right? So problem solving is a very effective strategy, and I would, encourage you to even start doing it in your daily life. It works wonders, right? So the next strategy which we're going to talk about is communication. Now, communication is very important. So a lot of the times you will notice that there's a lot of interpersonal stress, especially because, you're living all the time together. Like I remember when the first 3 months of lockdown were there, everybody was there inside, my kids were also home. Nobody was going to school. My husband wasn't going to work. After a while, I think we were getting on each other's nerves and we were getting into fights. So at that particular time, what was happening was that we were reacting to everything. So one thing is avoid confrontation if your partner is extremely irritated or angry, because if you're going to confront him, you're just going to end up with a volley of words, right? You're not going to come up with solutions. When he calms down, you wait, and then you come up, okay, when you said this, I really didn't like it. And then maybe try to, start a dialogue. Another important communication strategy which works wonders in any field is called the communication sandwich. So just like a sandwich has 2 pieces of bread and a filling in between, the pieces of bread here signify the positive suggestions, a positive opening and a positive close. And whatever you need to tell the person, if it's even something critical, you put in between. So if I need to tell my husband something, or I was very irritated with the way he spoke to me, you start your conversation with, that day, when when we were discussing that, you came up with very good points. And I really liked that you were so involved that day, even with the PTA meeting with the teacher. But, there was one concern that I had. So initially he gets happy, he's more receptive. Whenever somebody appreciates you, you become very receptive. Somebody starts, criticizing you, just straight away, you become very defensive. So start something with a positive thing, and it should be genuine. It should not be something flattery with the other person says, I just trying to get my attention. So something genuine, positive start, add whatever you need to talk about, and then positive close. It was so nice, that we could discuss this thing today, right? So if you're able to follow through with the communication sandwich, you will notice you're getting a lot of things done, right? With kids, a lot of the times what happens is you nag them. You tell them, ye kar do, wo kar do, wo kar do. What happens is that the child gets irritated and resents you, will not do it, and will deliberately irritate you. Or it even happens with other people. But when you change your tone and say, I would like some help from you, the other person is like, yes, this person needs me. So that person will do it. For instance, if I tell my child, this room's looking a little, this thing, I want to, I want some help in cleaning it up. Can you help me out? So the child immediately feels, yes, okay, I'm going to help out. I'm the little helper, right? Whenever a person feels needed, they do a lot for you. So remember that. So if you have to get things done by another person, you approach them with that humility. You approach them with that thing, I would like your help. Then they are more receptive. You will get more work done, right? So that's about communication strategies, which is extremely important, right? Then we come on to sleep hygiene. A lot of you, I'm sure, at least initially, I think I was also struggling with it, that, routines went for a toss. And at night, we couldn't sleep. And a lot of the times what we were doing was we were doing everything on the bed. So we are sitting and reading on the bed. We are watching TV on the bed. We're even eating on the bed. So the bed's association with sleep gets disturbed. So the first rule of sleep hygiene is only sleep on the bed. Don't do anything on the bed. Find a chair, find a sofa, do anything. Second important thing is limit your caffeine. So 2 cups of tea, standard cups, or coffee is enough. If you're having more caffeine, don't do it, because caffeine also increases anxiety. Especially after 7 o'clock, don't have caffeine. The third thing, what a lot of us do is bedtime browsing. Raat ko we tend to read all types of news items, or we try to watch Netflix or some content which is coming, which is stimulating our brains. Now the brain cannot be stimulated and put to rest at the same time. So if I want to put my brain at rest, I need to shut off all types of media communication at least 1 hour before I sleep. So now a lot of people say, मैं बस ऐसे लेटे थोड़ी रहूँगा बेड पे. लेटे मत रहिए. Do the relaxation exercise. Listen to a nice peaceful song or a symphony. If you want to read something which is very neutral or which is uplifting. But don't read anything which is stimulating. right? So these are certain things, and have a particular time when you sleep, a particular time when you get up, because the body responds well to rhythms. Have you noticed, if you want to get up at 6 o'clock, you put the alarm every day, probably on the 6th day, you don't need the alarm. Your body gets up at that particular time. So even with your routines, if you want to put a particular thing at a particular time, let's say if you want to be consistent with your exercise, put it at a particular time so that your body also gets trained. So अपने आप एक धक्का आ जाता है that I need to do my exercise at a particular time, right? So do that also with your sleep routines, a particular time to wake up, a particular time to sleep, right? Unrealistic things na rakhiye. For instance, if you're getting up at 10 and you want to get up at 5, it's not happening. So if I'm getting up at 10 every day, then I have to shift it by half an hour for the first week. Then I shift it another half an hour. If I go by this strategy, I'm not going to be frustrated. I'm going to feel much more in control. So that's about sleep hygiene, right? Which also impacts the way we feel, we think, and we're functional during our day, right? Another important aspect which Dr. Saab talked about was talk therapy. I would also add to it, there's something called journaling. So if I'm feeling very angry or irritated, I don't feel comfortable talking to somebody about it, I write about it. So if you feel that, you don't want other people to know your thoughts, just write about it and then crumple it and trash it. The moment you've written about it, your mind feels that it's purged it out or it's taken it out and the feelings are not bottled in. So you feel much better about it, right? Lastly, and most importantly, is our thoughts. We get so many thoughts during our day. We get so many negative thoughts. So how do you counter negative thoughts? The first important question to ask yourself whenever you get a negative thought is this in my control or is this not in my control? So let's say something is not in your control. You just disengage. You either distract yourself, or if the thought is coming, you let it come, but you don't engage with it, right? So if you want, you can also do a very simple exercise. You make 2 boxes, things I can control, things I can't control. So shuru mein ye bhi hota hai that thoughts keep on coming. You're not able to kind of get a hold of them. So each time a negative thought comes, I write it down and then I see which box does it belong to. If it belongs in the bin, crumple it and put it in the I cannot do anything about it. Can I do something about it? Just fold the paper and keep it. And then you can probably do the problem solving exercise on it. Right? So that can be a behavioral technique which can later be internalized by the brain, right? So you probably for the first week, you need those dabbas. By the second week, the thing which doesn't matter goes in the trash box automatically. You don't need to crumple and put it in, right? The second thing is that what is the best case scenario, what's the worst case scenario, and what's likely. A lot of the times what happens is our mind goes to the worst case scenario. Like for instance, even before this webinar, I was like, light aajkal bahut aa ja rahi hai, mera light hi ud jayega, to webinar to aaj kiya. So what happens was, the first thought which comes is that the light is going to go, the webinar is going to go. It's a negative thought. So what's the best thing that happens is light jayegi nahi. The webinar will go smoothly. What is the worst thing that will go is, theek hai, bilkul switch off ho jayega. I won't be able to contribute. Usse bura to nahi ho sakta. What is more likely is, ठीक है, आए जाएगी, बैकअप होगा, थोड़ा लैग होगा, but कोई ना कोई तो संभाल लेगा. So when I put the most likely situation, you notice it's not the worst case scenario. It is something which is manageable. So automatically the thought doesn't become, so overwhelming to you, because you know that you can do something about it, right? Another way, which I'm sure all of you are very adept at, is called challenging the irrational belief. Irrational is because it's negative, you don't have any basis. So you come up with evidences for the thought and evidences against the thought. A lot of the time, the evidences against the thought pile up quite a bit. So you have reason to dismiss that thought. For instance, many times people are like, if they've had jhagda with somebody, they're like, nobody loves me. So when I start making a list of people who are in my life and who have been in my life for quite some time, I notice there are so many people who love me. So by the syllogistic reasoning, nobody loves me, matlab ek bhi person nahi hona chahiye who loves me. But there are about 4 or 5 on my list. Then how is this thought valid? It's a useless thought, right? Or for instance, a lot of us are also struggling with financial situation. So we feel that, अरे corona end नहीं होगा, पूरा साल चला जाएगा, पैसा ही नहीं आएगा, बिल्कुल नहीं. अच्छा ठीक है, मुझे पता नहीं है होगा कि नहीं. Number 1, how do I know for sure that it's going to last for a year? People are working on the vaccine. अगर वो नहीं भी होगा, unlock में people are allowing धीरे धीरे करके practice. Courts are also opening up virtually. So चलो, maybe I'm not earning as much as I would be earning on a regular time frame, but it will not be zero. And agar zero bhi hoga, I have certain amount of investments or something which I can do, wo bhi nahi hai. So there are certain trusted people with whom I can, probably reach out to or take a little bit of a financial help. So when I come up with these situations, I don't feel that my situation is so bleak that I can do nothing about it. So if you're able to counter these things in such a way, it adds to your positively. Last, and something which I think is something which is very important, is we all the time think about negatives. Since the time we are children, we are always taught to look at what do we need to fix. Nobody ever tells you this is going so well with you. You did this so well. And it happens throughout our age. In the morning also, we are like, what do I need to fix? What do I need to do? We never start our day on a positive note thinking, oh God, I have so much. I have a house. I'm not on the street. I'm not vulnerable. Or I have, I'm spending time with my kids during the Corona period, which I was not doing because every day I was in the office. So I do not count my blessings. So a great way to recalibrate your mind, to stop thinking negative and positive. In the morning when I get up, I think about one thing I'm grateful for. In the evening when I sleep, I can think one grateful thing, right? Another important bit is extend yourself. When you are too self-absorbed and self-involved, you are all the time damned by your thinking or feeling, and you're never able to rise above your likes and dislikes. If you commit yourself to something that's beyond you, that changes you as a person. So for instance, with my kids, we do this activity that every day they make a big bottle of juice for the guard who's downstairs, and they give it. So that is their social cause for the day. I don't know the guard at all. They keep on changing. And there is no expectation here, but it is just that something they do for somebody else and they feel good that they are contributing. So all the time they're not thinking about ourselves. The second thing is you pray for those people who are not related for you. It just changes the equation. You no longer start thinking only about yourself. So if you expand yourself, you will notice that you can expand your thoughts, you can expand your behavior, and you can even expand your feelings. So with that, I hope those tips will be useful. If you have any queries or questions, you can always get back to me through Mahalakshmi ji. She has my contact. And thank you so much. It's been a wonderful experience today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anubha, for sharing to our audience such beautiful tips. I would now request Prerna Kumari, Secretary, Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association, to take up the question answer.
Thanks, Bhakti. First, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our panelist doctors for sparing their time. And in other words, if you can say, then they are the, what we say, frontliner warriors. So we salute you. We know that you are working for us day and night. So coming to the first question to Dr. Rajesh ji, would like to, how can we cope with the stress and anxiety we are facing because of pandemic? This is the question from one of the Meenakshi. She is also advocate in Supreme Court.
Madam, the stress is there for everybody and it is being felt by different people with different severity. Now, it depends on how severe stress the person is going through. If the person is going through severe stress, then the chances are that the person will require a lot of help from people around, and the management in the form of that the person gets sleep, person is able to relax. The relaxation can be by different methods, as Madam Anuja has spoken about it. The relaxation is not an easy thing. I have seen that pranayam is one of the best thing one can see, but it doesn't help immediately. It takes some time, maybe few weeks to give you the good results.
Right.
Yoga and pranayam are the best things to get over to the end. Now, yoga is a type of exercise, and that exercise involves a lot of, you can say, specifications. If you do it correctly, it gives you wonderful results. And pranayam also, I have done myself. I have seen it working so well that you feel peaceful throughout your day. Your anger gets managed. Even your body gets fitter. Your hormonal system, your mental balance. Has to first get through the yoga and pranayam type of things. Physical exercises are good. It is good for everybody. But what yoga and pranayam can do, that is very exceptional. But If you do it for 3 months, you will tackle any damn problem. Now the question comes, if you are so vulnerable that you are unable to handle it even then, that something can be done through psychological help, something can be done through medicinal help in case the sleep is a problem. I think I'll still manage that yoga and pranayama are the hallmarks. They do wonders.
Thank you so much, sir. One more question for you. Because of Sushant Singh Rajput, you must be knowing it's going day to day in the news.
Yeah.
There's one question is, sir, what if a person is already living with an anxiety disorder? Media coverage can be triggering. How can he cope best?
You see, the screen timing has to be reduced, and the repetition of the same type of stories and same types of material needs to be stopped. Because ultimately, the more repetition is there, your mind starts reacting more and more day by day. And moreover, the question is that these types of things, you want to know what is going to happen next, what is going to happen next. There is always anxiety to know more about it.
That's right.
But then ultimately, you have to put it stop. That I know it. It is a repetition. If you watch the TV, whole day they will keep telling same story again and again by different people.
Very right.
So I think screen time has to be stopped, and one need not relate to self. You see what happens most of the time, हम कोई चीज ऐसी negative देख लेते हैं, and ultimately we start feeling that it may happen to me. I may also encounter the same situation. So ultimately one has to be clear that this is not me, this is something else, this is going around, but I am not there, I am safe. So the anxiety will be less.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. So now one question is for Dr. Anubha. Dr. Anubha,
after this, I would like to ask a question.
Oh, sure. There's one question with Dr. Anubha. Is she there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. There's one question, doctor. How can we monitor our mental health? What's healthy in this situation, and what's risk factor and warning sign?
Okay. So one thing which you need to look at it is you can start maintaining a thought diary. It's very simple, right? So we say it's an ABC diary. So A here doesn't be it's not the affector, it's the antecedent or the situation. B is the beliefs, and C is the consequences. Consequences can be split up into emotional and behavior. So whenever I am feeling negative, right? Negative se sabse pehle matlab hota hai that I am feeling anxious, depressed, irritated. So it's at the feeling level. Immediately we are not aware of the thoughts. And a lot of the times you will even notice in collectivistic cultures, we are saying, I'm feeling that I cannot do anything. So I'm actually not feeling that, I'm thinking that. But we use feeling as a way of even expressing thoughts, right? So the first important bit is whenever I'm feeling irritated, angry, or frustrated, that is unhealthy for me when it's happening over a period of time. I have a fight, then I get over it, is okay. But if the feeling is not leaving me and I'm having it for, let's say, a week, 10 days, 2 months, then I really need to focus about the fact that there's something wrong here. So there are 3 parameters we take: self-care or personal care, occupational care, and the third thing is socialization. So if I'm not able to care for myself adequately is, I feel, for instance, if you're having a lot of depression and anxiety at times, even taking care of yourself, like taking a bath, even combing your hair, that becomes a task in itself. Or even attending to my personal things, which I was able to do very easily earlier, I'm having problems. If I was able to focus on things, I was able to get my work done, but now I'm just not able to get work done. I'm having a brain fuzz. And I don't even feel like socializing with anybody. I don't even feel like talking to anybody at home. And I used to be such a social and an extroverted person. I've just become very introverted, or I've become very suspicious. Then I need to basically seek help, or I feel that I'm not, functional. So for functionality, look at yourself in terms of personal health and personal care. Look at how you are working academically, occupationally, and how you are also reacting with friends and family. So if these 3 domains are altered, there's something wrong. So coming back to the diary, so you start with the C, that is you fill up the emotion. Then you say, okay, what is the situation right now? So let's say I've had a fight with a spouse, or I've had a fight with a neighbor or somebody. So I write that down. then you go on to, okay, what are the thoughts which are coming in my mind? For instance, he never understands, he's always so critical, they were so irresponsible. So all those are thoughts. What did I do about it? Either I shouted back or I went and I cried. That is what I did about it. So when you write your ABs and Cs, then you see, okay, could I have changed, the way I think, or could I have changed the way I reacted? Like I have just told you, with the problem solving tool, as well as the fact, the communication strategy. So if I could have changed it, I'll change it and alter it and say, okay, fine, I'll do something about it. So that's the way you can monitor your mental health. So mental health is a very broad term. So we can't say I can all the time monitor my mental health. It's not I can put a mini camera within me in my mind and which is seeing whatever's happening, but I can monitor my thoughts, feeling, and reactions. If I'm able to do that, I'm able to solve a lot of those things. But if those three domains are disordered, you just can't do anything about it, then you need to seek mental health. You need to seek a mental health expert, whether it's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but you need to reach out. And it's no shame that you reach out.
That's very right. That's very right. Thank you. So Priyanka, please ask your question.
Okay. My question is to Dr. Majithia. A very normal general question. Why these mental stress illness cases are increasing nowadays? Because see, when we were young, we were beaten by our teachers, our parents, everyone. Koi bhi aata tha, even chacha chachi could, give a slap to you if they are not happy about your conduct. But nowadays, parents are so protective about their children. They go and, complain about teachers. They should not beat him. So is it the reason why mental depression is increasing among children nowadays? Since you are doing stress management, I guess you are the right person to ask this.
So actually the question is way more broader. So why is it now increasing? Is it's getting reported more. Earlier, maybe, people were not able to identify. Now we have more awareness. So if you have more awareness, people are coming forward with it also. Earlier, maybe, even if people were having it, they were suppressing it. That is one way to look at why it's being reported. The second thing is resilience is going down. So if you notice, like the point you just made, this is from a parenting angle. What we are doing is we are laying the road for our child. From the beginning, you will notice, children don't need that many toys. But what do we do is, no, let's get the tea set also. Let's get the doll also. Let's get the teddy also. Let's get this also. The child plays with it for 2 days, gets bored. Then you know what? I go and buy more. Instead of actually putting them in the cupboard for some time and then taking it out after a bit. And maybe the child may have renewed interest. I keep on buying things. So from the beginning, I put that idea in the child's mind is happiness is bought. Number one. Number two is the fact is if you are, solving everything for your kid. So for your child, if he, for instance, you've seen it in many, many houses that the child cries because he or she has bumped in the table or something. What does the grandparent do or the parent do? Chal main table ki pitai karti. Is it the table's fault? So what happens a lot of the times is, or if somebody has said something, parents get involved in the fight of the child. Nobody is allowed to mess with their child. So they become, with teachers also these days. I mean, I was so surprised when, we saw queries coming up in virtual classes also. My child isn't getting that much personal attention. Come on. The world is not going to give your child the personal attention. So what we do is we feed our child with that thing. You are important. You're important. Nobody will do anything. Mummy will always come and help you out. So the child never really understands how is it that he or she needs to take rejection. How is it that he or she needs to solve their own problems? How is it that, he or she needs to manage their life or stress? All the time, you're not going to be there for the child. And in the world, fine, till school, till college also you can manage things. But once the child goes up in the work sphere, are you going to, for instance, tomorrow your child goes and becomes a lawyer. Will you go and fight with the judge and say, nahi, kaise hai, tumne argument nahi suni aapne inki? You can't do that, right? So you have to prepare your child. How do you prepare your child is you start giving them that thing that, okay, fine, if the teacher doesn't appreciate your work, it's okay. Maybe there was something lacking. Let's see how we can make it better. Not like, oh, I love it. She didn't love it. It's her problem. I loved it. No. Let's see how we can make this better. if their child is getting bullied, you teach him or her assertiveness so that he or she can assert themselves rather than going and, facing the bully on your own and kind of resolving things. So the more exposure you give to the child, the more resilient you make the child. So show the child the way.
So what I have understood, overprotection, and this is wrong for the child development, right?
Now, so thank you.
Thank
Now,
you.
Subhra wants to ask question. Subhra, please ask your question.
Shubhra, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, Shubhra. You're not. Yes, you are audible now, please.
Good evening, everybody. I have question. One question to Dr. Anubha. Hello.
Hello. Yes, Shubhra ji.
Since the outbreak of COVID-19, nursery to university classes has been for a long period. As a result, the students are deprived from meeting and playing with their classmates. Whether the mental hygiene of the student has been affected by this?
So one thing which is happening is a lot of the classes are happening on a virtual platform. So what's happening, as Dr. Saab said, our screen time is increased. So now if you are all the time in front of the screen, obviously your brain is stimulated, right? So if you have too much of overstimulation, then you are kind of going to get agitated and irritated. So you need to see what is healthy and what is unhealthy, number one. So for little children, there are guidelines which are given by WHO in terms of what is healthy screen time, what is unhealthy screen time, when it should be switched off. So it's not necessary that, some people say, okay, I will not get the virtual class done. Now, if this situation keeps on happening, it may not be possible for you to totally excuse your child. So allow them to attend whatever is necessary to attend. And then when the child is at home, then you can limit. Probably, you can't switch off the TV completely and not give the cartoon, but maybe come up with other activities which do not involve the screen, which can be used. So a lot of the times you will also notice that people, even for instance, like you were saying, people in college. So they are again, having Zoom calls or things with their friends. So at times it can just be a phone call. It can be, a con call rather than having a screen time. Or for instance, they can engage with other activities also. Like, involve them in household chores. A lot of the times people actually think that household chores are only supposed to be done by the help staff, but they are actually the best thing you can do for your kids and for your teenagers to get them, socialized to the concept of dignity of work. The second is taking responsibility for something. And the third is being gainfully occupied without the screen. So look for alternatives to come up with it. The more screen time, the more obviously your mental health is compromised because you're stimulated all the time. So learn to de-stress or de-stimulate.
Yeah, thank you. Sudha Pal wants to ask question.
Yes.
Yeah, please, Sudha.
I am Sudha Pal, Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association, Kesra. My question is, Anubha ma'am, very inspiring views and lot of inspiring wellness, mental wellness. Ma'am, my question is, what is the role played by psychology in development of artificial intelligence? Hello?
So artificial intelligence is a... Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Anubha.
Again, I ask my question.
No, I got your question. You said, what is the role of psychology or psychologists in artificial intelligence?
Yes.
So now, if I'm looking at artificial intelligence in terms of, a bot or, a computer program which basically provides counseling or mental health, that is one aspect which probably might get developed in the future. Then obviously psychologists come into play in how the artificial, the robot or somebody would be able to sense emotion. So if you, many of you watched this Hollywood movie, Her, in that the person actually develops this, virtual reality program, which is able to respond to emotions. So if psychologists are involved, they know when the robot needs to respond to what kind of an emotion, depending on the voice tone, depending on other, let's say facial cues, those can be used. Another bit is how artificial intelligence also impacts, because with artificial intelligence coming in, with machines coming in, what will happen ultimately is human beings will be losing their jobs. They will also kind of feel, that their importance is not there anymore. So how do they cope up with that difference of role is something also that people will need mental health experts to look at. And if you're having more and more machines coming in, then how do you substitute roles for human beings? How do you create that kind of a productive environment for human beings or jobs so that they do not, go through a mental health crisis? So those are the two areas that I can think of.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mansa, do you like to ask question? Mansa?
Please unmute yourself, Mansa.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you're audible.
Ma'am, do you think that eating disorders are also a mental problem?
Yes, eating disorders are there in the diagnostic classification of diseases. So for India, we use the International Classification of Diseases. In that, eating disorders, anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa is included.
Could I ask one more question? Ma'am, a lot of people believe that they don't need therapy. They associate it with being weak or negative. How does one convince one's friends or family that there is nothing wrong approach to the therapist?
So the first important thing is, what we usually do when we have to motivate someone is roll with the resistance. So if somebody is not open to an idea, if I keep on trying to convince them or I keep on hard selling, the person is just going to be closed. So what you do is you roll with the resistance. So you say, okay, fine. I mean, I'm just going to share my views on it. You can think about it. You don't have to agree with me. So what is it? You sow the seed in their brains to think about whether they, mental health is good or not. So maybe you can come up with certain inspiring instances where maybe, therapy helped people. Or for instance, you can take examples of celebrities even when they are promoting mental health. For instance, Deepika Padukone has done a lot for mental awareness. I think people started relating to the whole concept when she started talking about it, right? So if you're able to talk about certain inspirational stories, or even if you're comfortable sharing something which is not too intimate and you were able to reach out to a mental health professional and, found help, then people would be a little more open, but don't force them to take your ideology. You can just say, you can think about it. I just wanted to share this with you. So what you do is you sow the seed of curiosity and you see if it germinates, well and good. Even if it doesn't germinate, it's okay. Everybody is entitled to whatever they would like to think.
But what are the ways, how can we convince them to approach the doctor?
So one way is that, let's say if the person really has a person whom they very trust or they really have a lot of regard for, maybe, if you involve that person in the conversation, they become a little more open to it. The second thing is you focus on what are the benefits. So when we are also doing motivational therapy and we are doing brief intervention, which is like I just get one session to convince, let's say, a person who's using substance use. So I use the frames model. What is frames about? What all is frames about is first is feedback. So you say these days, a lot of people who are having stress and anxiety. But the decision to change or not, so I'm communicating the R now, the responsibility lies with them, whether they would like to do something about it or they don't want to do something about it. It can be quite tough to kind of, seek help because, people may think it's stigmatizing, or I may feel that I'm not able to take care of things myself. So what am I doing is conveying empathy. Then I present menu of options. Well, maybe at times just, if we are too closely associated or if somebody is very closely associated with me, they may not be able to give me certain, viewpoints, which may actually be reflecting whatever I need. So you come up with various options for them. Okay, fine. If you think that you don't want to take medication, you don't want to go to a psychiatrist, maybe you can go to a counselor first. If they feel you need to go to a psychiatrist, you can do that. Some people are more comfortable going to a psychiatrist and not as a counselor. They can be given that option. You can also encourage them that, maybe if you're feeling stressed out, then I can go with you. I'll sit outside. I won't hear whatever you have to say, but I can just go with you. It's okay. Right? So you can give them a menu of options. And what do you do is last is that you support self-efficacy. That is, I know that you will be able to make the right decision because you've always been so responsible and you've been doing a lot of things for yourself. So if this is something that you would like to try out, it will be great. So that is one very simple way to kind of guide them through the whole process of providing them with the menu of options.
One
Thank you.
question from Dr. Rajesh. Why do you think people?
Pardon?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Why do you think people are increasingly having negative thoughts and are overthinking? How do you deal with it?
You see, ma'am, the issue is of negative thoughts, which normally everybody gets. But there are people who are prone for such things, whether they are having some experiences from their childhood and in their adulthood also, that they get such experiences that their way of thinking or pattern of thinking becomes negative. Now they have to first shown that how they are thinking. That Madam Anubha has already told it about that they have to write their thoughts. Then they know that what they are thinking. Then they can challenge those thoughts, that what are the alternative thoughts they can have on this particular issue. Because negative thoughts are normally not acceptable to the person. So what can be other way? Then the other way comes in front of that, मेरे साथ ऐसा हो रहा था, मैंने ऐसा सोचा कहीं हो तो नहीं जाएगा, तो उसमें अल्टरनेटिव आएगा कि everybody is going through the same thing, why should I be thinking like this? और ये नेगेटिव थॉट मैं क्यों इसको लेके चलूं, जबकि मेरे सामने अभी तक ऐसा कोई इशू नहीं आया, ऐसा कोई हिंट नहीं मिला मुझे. So ultimately, when you start challenging your negative thought, the thought gradually falls back and you get along with your normal thought process. So one has to first be clear about that what I am thinking and why I am thinking, then person will be able to handle it.
Thank you.
Or sharing can be another way, because once you say that you have somebody who is close, you can share it, the other person might correct you the way you are thinking. Most of the time this happens that when you talk to a friend or a person that I am going through like this, I feel like this, the other person convinces you that no, कुछ ऐसा नहीं है, डरने की बात नहीं है, everybody is doing it, कोई डरना नहीं है. So things become more easier when you talk to somebody and you get a helping hand, you can say.
Thank you, sir. There's one last question from you, only, sir. Dr. Rajesh.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people are getting obsessed over washing their hands. So how do an individual balance washing his hands enough and not become obsessive about it? So it's a very general question and very important also. Most of the people want to know this.
You see, the question here is that people are doing it because of the corona impact. They are psychologically now prone for washing more and more times. But if a person is washing it unnecessarily every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then it's a problem. Now the question comes that the person has to put a signboard wherever the person is going to wash the hands, that मैंने इतनी बार धो लिया है, या मैं इतनी बार यहाँ पे गया हूँ, या मेरे एक बार धो लिया, अब उसके बाद धोने की जरूरत नहीं है. और एक आइडिया और प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है that ultimately when you are doing it, you have to see that what I am doing. You get aware about a situation, that is more important. Once a person gets aware about his own situation, normally these people who do it regularly or repeatedly, they do it automatically. It happens. So they are unable to understand कि मेरे साथ क्या हो रहा है. So when they get aware about it, so they have to be made aware by putting a logo in front of, you are coming here to wash your hands. Be careful, you have to wash only once. So इस तरह से कहीं ना कहीं एक trigger करना पड़ेगा in their mind that they are getting more aware, and then they will themselves handle the problem. If it is a time, this is a simple problem. If it is a disease of obsessive compulsive disorder, then it is different. Then it's a long process where the desensitization and many things, exposure, response, prevention, everything will come. That is a different and altogether very long process. But a normal person who is doing it because of the corona, he can handle it by becoming aware about the situation he is going through and putting logos here and there, thinking about it. कि मैं ज़्यादा कर रहा हूँ, मुझे थोड़ा ध्यान देना पड़ेगा. So getting your mind trained to stop yourself.
Right.
So this is the way, when you start giving your mind signals that I'm doing something wrong, so mind automatically changes you. There is no need for anybody even then.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Mahir Ravish Train want to ask one question, sir. So Mahir Ravish, please.
Yeah. Sir, I have actually two questions. One is that people do have a proper knowledge of whom to approach when my mind is not working correctly. So should I go directly to a psychologist or a psychiatrist? Whom to go first? Number two, there are senior citizens who are these days getting very affected because there are several constraints on them. So how can they come out of this vulnerability and that sort of a mindset that they should not be fearful about it or scared about it? I mean, it is a normal thing. What is happening is normal and they should take it in a normal way. How do we give them that positive boost?
Now you see, in your first question, the psychologist and psychiatrist,
So,
the question comes that what is the degree of the problem or the discomfort. If the degree of discomfort is so strong that the person is unable to handle himself, and the other people around are also seeing that the person is getting out of hand, and he is not able to manage himself in public, at home, and he is losing himself, his behavior is getting worse, or he is blaming others or getting into confrontation and other issues without realizing the social effect, without realizing कि कौन देख रहा है क्या कर रहा है. It means he is not able to understand the impact of his behavior. In such situations where the person is getting beyond a limit and he is not aware about his problem, then psychiatrist is a must. But when the person is aware of his problem, he knows that he has a problem and he is understanding his problem to some extent, and he is thinking of कि कुछ problem तो है. अब वो किसी भी तरह की हो सकती है, मेमोरी से रिलेटेड भी हो सकती है, बिहेवियर से रिलेटेड भी हो सकती है, डिप्रेशन से भी रिलेटेड हो सकती है. Now he has a choice to go to either a psychologist or a psychiatrist. That is his choice, his acceptance about person. कि मैं किसके पास जाऊं, that is his acceptance. इसका mind जो accept कर लेगा, that is fine. Psychologists are there to treat psychologically. They are not able to give medication or help in these types of management, pharmacological management. So they will give them the techniques to handle it. So when the problem is mild to moderate, then psychologists do help people, and they are also doing good job. But
Thank
when
you,
the
sir.
problem is severe, then psychiatrist is a must. And when the person is not aware of his problem, he is not understanding his problem, that there is a problem, then psychiatrist is a must. Now coming to the second question of senior citizens. Now senior citizens, I think the data you must have seen that there is not much of problem in our country related to senior citizens. In fact, healthcare workers are getting more affected than senior citizens, and a lot of senior citizens have recovered also. So if a person is more thinking in terms of that he is more unsafe, then they should be given the data that this is not their case. Secondly, prevention. हमारी society में what we are seeing is that we are not taking proper preventive measures. This disease requires proper prevention. That's the best possible way to prevent it to spread from people to people. If the prevention can be controlled, this disease can be controlled. Now prevention is being taken as a side step. कोई बात नहीं चलता है. Even people like using the gamcha type of thing. They are touching the gamcha. Now what is the this thing doing it? Gamcha is going to get into the coronavirus on the surface, and you are just cleaning it, taking it again and again. So even people are not aware how to prevent, how to use mask. Now this particular education part is a must. Then senior citizens who have certain basic main diseases like kidney problems, heart problem, normal is not problem. Wherever there is, you can say the more of a heart is weak, then there is a problem. So it is not that even minor BP problem somebody is having and he is a heart case and he is going to get into corona and then he will die or this or that. So the proper education is a must to know. People are not aware of all these things. So there is general spread. Even government is changing stance, their decisions again and again because every day new things keep coming. But what I have seen myself is that the preventive aspect and education about the preventive aspect is not being taken seriously by people.
Bhakti, to add to this, can I ask a small question if we have time?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We are
you can
running
ask. After that, Mahalakshmi ma'am
We are
would like
running
to.
time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Uh,
thank you so much, doctors. You asking questions, Priyanka?
yes, I want to ask just one small question.
Yeah,
This is to Dr. Mehta. Do we have some significant, symptoms where we can understand for self-check or for the family members that the problem has started and we need to go to the psychiatrist or psychologist? Are there any symptoms which we can identify?
You see, the first and the foremost symptom is that the person is not the same person what you used to be seeing. If there is a change in person's personality, change in his behavior, his perception about the people around. Like he was a good person, he used to talk well, he used to discuss, behave properly. Now he is rejecting everybody, he's trying to see somebody with a different eye. So ultimately, when you see a change in a personality of a person,
Okay.
that the person has definitely shown some changes which he was not there like this earlier, then there is definitely a need to look deeper into it and need to understand that there is something wrong. Then sleep problem. Sleep is one of the basic issues which gets affected initially, whether the person is tense, whether he is depressed, whether he is losing his balance of mind also.
Okay.
Then third question comes that the person, if himself gets aware about his problem, then it is easier. But if the person is not getting aware of his problem, then the question comes that the other people have to think about it, that something needs to be done. So these are certain things that the person needs to show the change in his usual behavior or personality change. Like a person used to remember so many things and now he is forgetting things. Now, a person never used to feel so depressed. Today he is feeling depressed. We have found certain cases of even brain tumor presenting to us in the form of depressed patients, whereas they took the patient to us, they brought to us because they ultimately thought that it's a depression. But that depression is, you can say, blank face, indifferent attitude. Now, such patients have some problem with their brain also. Even hormonal changes, they create certain problems in our behavior. Even many ladies do have this thing, premenstrual disorder, depressive disorder. They feel agitated, irritated. So these are normal things also. When they get beyond a limit, that they become disturbance to the person concerned or disturbance to the other people around, or the person is not able to perform his occupation, or the person is not able to perform in day-to-day activities. Day-to-day work is getting affected, sleep is affected, appetite is affected, behavior is affected. Now these are all changes which come in front of the family or society or friends. Then they definitely feel that the person needs, and these are the signs that something has to be done. Now in anxiety cases, this will be of different nature. Depressive cases, it will be of different nature. The thought content will decide. If the person is always in a hurry, intense state, jaldi karo, kya ho jayega, kya ho sakta hai, kuch garbad to nahi ho jayegi, such peace. When they are not showing such signs earlier, and now they are getting so impatient and so insecure and so worried. So they are going through some sort of stress and anxiety. Now, if they start feeling that मेरे से गलती हो गई है, मैं गलत हूँ, मुझसे ही गड़बड़ होनी थी, और मेरा क्या होगा, उसका क्या होगा, तो डिप्रेशन में जाएगा. अगर बहुत ज्यादा इनसिक्योर है, दूसरों को ब्लेम कर रहा है, तो फिर साइकोसिस हो सकता है उसको. different stress level will produce different type of illnesses. But the stress level, if there is change in behavior, change in his sleep pattern, appetite pattern, eating pattern, so all these things will help us to identify.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh ji, and thanks, Dr. Anubha ji. बहुत ही well explained answer दिया आपने, and I think everybody is satisfied now. So now over to Bhakti.
I would request Mahalakshmi ma'am to please say something. Ma'am, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh Mehta, and thank you, Dr. Anubha. It was
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, but I just want to take another 5 minutes of your precious time. Out of experience, I'm saying this. You know, initially when the lockdown was announced, I was going paranoid, doctor. I was into so much of depression, and it was a question of helplessness. There was such a lot of negativity in me. I realized the cause of that was my TV, watching these news channels. So the first thing I did was, this information overload was just killing me. Like, half the channels say lies, half the channels say the truth. We don't know what is fake, what is real. And what happened was, I just unsubscribed Tata Sky. I got some peace, because ultimately it's a question of information overload, and everywhere it was corona, corona, corona. The second thing was, I was going a little paranoid because my daughter was away in Bombay. But that was a blessing in disguise, because when she was in Bombay, she had no maids, nothing. So she learned to cook, she learned to take care of herself. So I found that as a blessing. And thirdly, doctors, I would just like to say, see, this is a world where we forget gratitude. So we have to thank God for all the small mercies and say thank you, God. And yes, wake up with a thank you, big thank you. We should be grateful to small things. Previously, going on a world trip was a luxury. But today, even hugging a friend, seeing all of you all is a luxury. I mean, after we started this webinar, there is so much of bonding between us. We look forward for our next webinar and things like that. So apart from that, this too shall pass. So we have this hope of a new vaccine coming in. We have to live with this situation, but we have to be positive, fingers crossed. And thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, Dr. Anubha. Thank you for your precious time and enlightening our audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would now request Mahir Ravesh, Executive Member of Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association, to please extend vote of thanks on our behalf.
Thank you, Bhakti ma'am. Thank you, Bhakti ma'am. A very good evening to all. It gives me immense pleasure and privilege to propose vote of thanks for this event to all the dignitaries who have assembled here. I would like to thank Dr. Rajesh Mehta and Dr. Anubha Dhal Majithia for immediately accepting our request to take out time to talk on this topic today. We are so very thankful to both of you, doctors. We are grateful to both of you for enlightening us and for guiding us on how to de-stress ourselves, how to motivate ourselves during these times, tough times. I'd also like to thank our dear viewers and colleagues who have joined us on Facebook for making this program such a memorable one. At last, I would like to thank the President of our association, Madam Mahalakshmi Pavani-ji, Vice President Bhakti Pasrija Sethi and Priyanka Mathur-ji. I would also like to thank General Secretary Prerna Kumari and Assistant Secretary Mansa Singh. I'd like to thank Sudha Pal, Treasurer, and Shubhra Saha, Assistant Treasurer, for the support and constant advices and cooperation in making this program a resounding success. I once again thank you all for your attention and your time. Have a good evening ahead.
Madam, may I add something?
Yes, please.
Please, Dr. Mehta.
You see, Corona has given us a lot of lessons also, which we are not seeing.
Sir, good things are happening, some good things.
And one good thing is these webinars, like Zoom meetings, webinars, all these virtual things.
Yeah, virtual things are there, but we are
Mahalakshmi ma'am, please unmute yourself. You're not audible.
we are more
Junk
aware
food
about
has stopped, and useless roaming around in malls has stopped.
yeah, we are more.
So our expenses are now very less.
Yes. We are more
No,
aware
it was
about the
not
health.
useless roaming about. Like I still miss the.
In fact, doctor, as a very busy professional, I've not been able to spend time with my children in their growing
Yeah,
up.
that's also one good thing.
Now I spend so much of time. We discuss a lot of things. We start writing.
You have time for yourself more. You have
True,
time
true,
for
sir.
yourself more. You can
Yes.
pursue your own interest.
Hobbies, yes.
Very
Yes,
true,
sir.
doctor. So it's a blessing in disguise. God
Yeah.
has the
Don't
importance.
take it otherwise. Take it happily.
Positively.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.